Every day I'm rising to my inner vision.
So welcome to the Unknown Tribe, Palmaïa's channel, where we speak, converse, interview people who come visit us. And it's a beautiful thing to do for me because we're finding people from all different ranges of lifestyles in the world, different professions. And the beautiful thing is that we all come together with a similar purpose, which is finding ways within our lifestyle and work that we can help contribute to a more positive world, I think. And today we have no other than Tracy Pollan, author of 2 cookbooks mostly about eating plants. So we're going to be talking about plant-based food today, how the plant-based lifestyle has influenced us, like me, well, you as well, obviously, me and everyone, how it influences in a positive way. And I always love having authors on because not just anyone writes a book, right? When you write a book, it's got to be something behind it. You don't just wake up in the morning and decide I'm going to write about this. There's always a purpose and something beautiful behind it. So what inspired you and your family to decide to get together, which is even more rare, I think, the whole family, and actually write a book?
Well, first of all, I just want to thank you so much for being here. This has been the most special 4 days that I've had,
Thank you so much.
Ever. It's a really beautiful, wonderful place.
Happy you enjoyed it.
And so I grew up in a house filled with food and love. And we all loved coming together to cook and to be fed and to feed each other. And we talked about food constantly. And my mother is a wonderful, wonderful cook. And then my 2 sisters and I, Lori and Dana, we wrote the book together with our mother, and our brother, Michael Pollan, did the foreword. So we're just a very foodie family, foodie forward family. And we really, honestly, wrote the cookbook for us because we wanted these recipes in our lives.
To be passed down through generations as well.
Exactly, to pass down to our kids and our friends. And it really was a labor of love. And it has to be because writing a book is very difficult.
And how was the process? Because normally you think of family together and you think of tension, conflict. And most people how was that? Was the bickering? Did you I want my recipe, I want yours? I mean, how smooth was it, let's say? Tell us the truth.
It was actually more smooth than you would imagine. We get along very well, and we would sort of divide into teams. We'd say, I was thinking about doing a recipe involving chickpeas, and then one of us would say, I've been, using a lot of chickpeas in my recipes. Let's get together and do that. And then, so usually we would do it in pairs, and sometimes we do it alone, but we just work together very well. There's definitely, sometimes you'd be like, oh, really? You think that you want to use that much salt? Okay. But for the most part. I'd take half that out if I were you. I just want to wipe the other person out. How much water do I drink after that recipe? But for the most part, it was a really lovely experience.
And what I've noticed also is that there's lots of movements to plant-based. There's lots of arguments now splitting the meat eaters against plant eaters. Meat eaters say if you eat plants, you'll die. Plant eaters say if you meat eaters, you'll die. And usually the truth is always something normally in the middle. It's always a gray area, right? So this is what I've noticed in your books is you're going more towards what's a flexitarian diet, as they call it, which is, eat as many plants as you can, but, if you really can't do it and you need it, eat some animal protein as well, right?
Right.
So how do you think, how's that affected your life? Have you always eaten more plants and less animal protein, or did you actually transition? And if so, have you felt any health changes? Has it changed your life in any way? Or?
So it's interesting because me, my 2 sisters, and my mother all have sort of different diets. I became vegetarian very, very young, and I was completely vegetarian from the age of, I think it was 14, straight through my first pregnancy. And then I became pregnant with twins. And I went from being completely vegetarian to needing to eat Italian hoagies. It was wild. It was like, what? Why is my body craving salami all of a sudden?
I know one friend in Europe who just wanted escargot, French snails.
It's wild.
So it's kind of interesting.
So I sort of waited till I had them.
Yeah.
Then I gave in and I started incorporating. I think what happened was I just wasn't able to get enough protein and iron in my diet the way I was eating. I think you obviously can, but I didn't have a nutritionist and I just needed to get that in my body. And then after, I sort of became much more flexitarian. I included fish and every once in a while meat.
Yeah.
But I really like having that. I like being flexitarian because I like to be able to go into places and not have a huge conversation about my diet. Yeah. And I like to just kind of.
Because you always get pointed out as a weird one, right? Like,
or just to make something special for me, or not to be able to eat in a certain restaurant that I want to eat at. But I feel better eating mostly plants.
What I like to tell people as well is, like, for example, I got lots of friends who, for example, eat meat, and they say, no, but I can't give it up. I've eaten it since I was a kid and everything. What I say is that if you're going to eat meat, eat less, but eat the best quality you can find.
Exactly.
Right? So if you're going to eat meat, make sure it's from a farmer that you know, that's a regeneratively farmed animal, that's roam-free or whatever. Because the problem is that the industrial agricultural system is full of, like, the animals injected with toxins and steroids and hormones and vaccines. In the end, your body's absorbing that, right?
Exactly.
So if you're going to be like you need to be so selective about the animal protein you eat nowadays, you know.
Right.
So I think the way you describe it is amazing, because if you eat less, then you can afford, hopefully, less but better quality.
Exactly.
Right?
Be pickier. And the same with fish.
Yeah,
the same
absolutely.
thing.
And most people say that, like, a vegan plant-based diet is elitist, right? But I don't think it's true, right? Because how do you find out? Because most people always say, but you just, you can do that. And I don't think it's true, because there are many simple and beautiful recipes you can make.
There, absolutely. I think that it can be daunting for people because they don't know how to cook with plants and make it taste good and make it is a little bit harder. It's not like you're just taking a piece of steak, putting salt and pepper on it and throwing it on a grill. When you're incorporating all of these beautiful herbs and spices and learning how to put things together so that you can get enough protein in your diet, which is key, especially as we get older.
What would be your go-to plant-based ingredient, do you think, then? Like, what's the secret ingredient that you would probably add to a lot of your dishes? Because a lot of people I speak to, no, I like to use this more. I like to use this more.
Right.
There's always something. I use a lot of nutritional yeast, for example, for my children, because they like the flavor.
Yes, we have a recipe that we incorporated nutritional yeast. It's a chili recipe, and it's amazing. It really gives it, I don't want to say a meaty flavor, because I don't think we're ever going for something to taste like meat, but there's a certain earthiness, and you just feel more full, which you're sometimes looking for when you're eating a vegetarian or vegan diet. You kind of want to get more full, and I feel like nutritional yeast adds that, and adds, it's not salty, but it adds that umami.
Yeah, the umami flavor for sure.
Which is hard to.
And it's also a very good, like, cheesy replacement.
Exactly.
People want to, like, eat less dairy as well, I find.
Exactly.
So you can add that. And I make a sauce with nutritional yeast and a bit of miso in it as well, actually.
Oh, that sounds good.
It makes it a bit more,
that.
it makes it a bit stronger as well.
I love salads. I just have always loved salads. So I try to incorporate something with protein. I love to roast chickpeas, throw them in there. I love to add some nuts. Walnuts are great. So I would say I like to incorporate a lot of legumes when I'm eating a strictly vegetarian diet, so that I can get the protein. And I'm also a big fan of tofu. I do like soy-based protein.
Yeah, absolutely. I find interesting in Japan, for example, when they cook, they say that every meal should include the 5 colors in it, 5 different colors.
Oh,
and when you have the 5 different colors, the colors between them have the necessary enzymes and proteins that you need to eat. So if we go to salads, like, for example, the one on the cover of your book, there's like about 4 or 5 colors there as well, right? So with salads, you can always add all these different colors, which is like almost like how they try and cook in Japan, mostly.
That's so funny because I feel like I do that without really realizing what I'm doing. But if I'm making, let's say I am cooking a piece of fish, and then I know that I want a green vegetable there, and then I know that I want a salad that has something red in it. So I do like to see the rainbow on my plate.
It looks better as well, right? More appetizing for sure, because we eat our eyes, right? Definitely. Also, I noticed in the book, it has a heavy emphasis also on sustainability in the kitchen.
Exactly.
What would your top tips be, for example, for people wanted to make more of an effort to try and help nature within the kitchen, what tips would you give to them to when you're cooking or ingredients or how to treat certain products so you don't waste as much? Do you have any
Exactly. Well, that's a big thing is trying not to waste and trying to incorporate what you have in your refrigerator. So what I really like and what we talk about a lot in the cookbook is, let's say we're making the white bean and kale quesadilla and you don't have white beans, but you have a can of refried beans. So don't feel so wed to whatever you're cooking. I think that you can, if you can sort of feel a little more free with it, you can use what you have in your refrigerator or in your pantry. Same thing if you're making Italian food, and just try to use what you have. And I also think going to the farmers markets and getting what's local and what's fresh,
so important,
and not trying to make something that isn't in season when it's, you're not going to make a caprese salad in December because it's not going to taste as good and the tomatoes are going to be more expensive.
Eating seasonal products is so important as well, right? Because the composition of the vegetables alone, the protein, the enzymes within them, they're way stronger when you're actually in season.
Exactly.
When they're off season, it's different. The sunlight, it's probably grown indoors. It's not the same. Right? They haven't got the amount of vitamins and nutrients that they would have
and it
normally,
tastes so much better.
And so, what about when you're cooking with your family? Does everyone do your family? Do you all cook together?
So it's funny. So we have a huge family, and we just did Thanksgiving dinner. And if you could have heard the conversations before this dinner about who was cooking what, who was shopping for what we made last year, the schedule, who needs the stove when, who needs the oven when, timing it out. And all of our kids participated.
How many were you then?
25.
Wow, that's a big one.
Yeah, that was a big one. And so, but it was really fun. We all have a lot of children and they love cooking together.
That's amazing.
So we would, you'd see 4 of our kids at the kitchen table peeling potatoes, and then people are slicing apples for the tart, and everybody worked together, and actually it was very calm. I don't think that there was any stress. We really no. Sometimes this one, no, not as much. And then to all sit down together and eat something that we've prepared together with love is just a very special.
I find that as we have families, obviously you and I have them as well. Like we cook, right? So when your parents cook and then you cook, it kind of gets passed down through generations. So then there's always one who maybe doesn't want to cook, right? But then a lot of families, like nowadays, come from separated families. So there's not necessarily that tradition within them because maybe both parents are working, right? I meet many people who don't cook because it's never really been shown to them as a tradition in the family now. Exactly. So have you thought of ways that we can promote cooking more to people to make their own food? Because it's so important to make your own food because you're buying your ingredients, so you know what's going in your body.
Exactly.
When you order delivery, it's not the same because you don't know what the franchise or whatever restaurant it is are adding to the food, right? So how can we instill that culture more in people, right?
So I think people are very intimidated by the idea of cooking if they didn't come from a family where it was just a natural thing. I mean, for us, we were so fortunate because my mother cooked, her mother cooked, and we grew up cooking. It wasn't scary. It wasn't like, how am I going to make this? And I do know I have friends that don't think that they can do it. I mean, if you have the right cookbook, it's very simple because you're really just following very basic instructions. And with the right cookbook, it's kind of hard to mess it up. So I think that's a good way, is just sort of with your kids. If you don't feel comfortable cooking, why don't you get a simple cookbook and start cooking with your kids? Learn to do it together. And I think the more you do it as you're coming up, the more you're just going to feel like it's a part of
what
your
I
life.
like about the Most Food Plants book is that it has from simple to more complicated recipes.
Exactly.
So I think the good thing is that definitely there are some recipes in there that aren't intimidating at all, which is nice. There's one really nice potato one. We just literally slice it up, add some sauce, put it in the oven, and it's done, right?
Exactly.
So it's important for people to understand that there are simple ways of cooking that can give you the right nutrients as well, right?
Exactly, and flavor. And we also tried to break it down into how long everything took to cook, because that can also be intimidating if you want to sit down and have dinner, but it's, you don't want to eat at 9 o'clock. So to know that, this is going to take half an hour, and it does.
Yeah, what I found as well is that when I was living alone, for example, when you're cooking, it's like a lot more difficult. You're like, oh, I'm going to cook for just myself. And you always end up with bigger portions and everything. So what I started doing is I started doing even bigger portions. So like for 4 or 6 people, and then I'd just keep a bit and then I'd freeze the rest.
Exactly.
So
That's
there are ways
great.
as well of doing that, which can help you as well. I think there's a lot of people who are alone think, oh, but I don't want to do it. I'm alone. It's not worth it, you know. But I think you could even, you could save time because you're only doing it once. And you can probably save money as well because you're doing batch cooking.
Yeah,
right?
like make a huge pot of soup and then get little containers and freeze it. And same with chili and stews.
And what do you think, for example, when you went flexitarian or decided when you were 14, you said you started going.
I was vegetarian. I was pretty strict vegetarian.
But what made you go vegetarian?
So
Before you used to eat a lot of meat as well, or was it normal?
I did. I grew up eating a lot of meat. But I always had a little bit of the ick factor with meat. It honestly wasn't for health as much as it would sort of, for lack of a better word, it could gross me out if I thought about what I was eating too much. So it was more of an emotional thing. And I didn't really come into the idea of the health reasons until a little bit later. And I just thought, you know what, if I have a bad bite of a tomato, that's okay. If I have a bad bite of chicken, it's going to take the day to get it.
Texture. Yeah, that's for sure. I still remember the last time I even tried chicken.
Yeah.
I went plant-based about 15 years ago. And about 2 years later, we were in Tulum and there was this beautiful stew of chicken and stuff in it. I was like, well, I'll just try a bit. And I tried one piece and I was like, oh, because I think the compositional structure of your your taste buds, everything changes. You know? So when you actually taste different things that you're not used to, because your body kind of rebalances, the microbiome changes. Everything changes within your body. And when you suddenly go for something that you're not used to like that, it can be quite shocking, can't it?
It's like a mouthfeel is very different with meat than it is with anything else. But I also realized, so that was the reason why I became vegetarian, but quickly I realized that I felt so much better. So,
and does everyone in your family eat like you? Because I often meet people as well. Like here we have a lot of people who come, for example, who maybe the female is a yogi and the guy is like a bodybuilder and eats meat and everything. The great thing is they can come here because we have mostly plant-based menus, but there are a few non-vegan options. So the guys come, they got their thing, but the girls can also eat what they want, or sometimes it's the other way around, actually. So a lot of people I know also say oh, I could never be with someone who's meat, or oh, I could never be with someone who's vegan because it's too complicated, right? So how does the dynamic work within your family? I have my family of siblings and the family that I grew up in, and my 2 sisters are vegetarian. They've never gone back from being vegetarian. They've never even had, anything. My brother is vegan, actually, and my mother eats fish, but she's pretty much cut meat out of her diet. Every once in a while she'll have something, but for the most part she's like a pescatarian. And then in terms of my children, for example, how did you?
One of my daughters is vegetarian, and my son he loves meat. He loves, and he cooks a lot. But he enjoys vegetables. And then my other 2 daughters are more like me, I would say.
Okay, so mine, for example.
And my husband is more like me. He was vegan for a while. That didn't agree with him. I mean, he had a hard time getting enough protein.
Yeah, it makes sense. We're all got different compositions in our body, and so people need different processes to eat differently anyway.
Exactly.
With my daughters, what I did is we feed them at home what we eat, right?
Yeah.
As they grow older, we explained that this is the way we eat, and people eat differently outside. No,
exactly.
But if you want to eat anything when you're outside, you're welcome to try it.
Right.
Just know that when you're with me, you eat like this. This is how we eat, right?
Yeah.
So I never limited because I didn't want to say no, because I kind of feel that if you say no to something, you're gonna almost traumatize, and they're gonna want to eat triple or whatever it is afterwards, right? So I've never limited them, but they've always my eldest daughter is 9. She's always been completely plant-based, and she's very staunch. Since she was younger, I don't want to eat animals. I want to kill animals. She's she doesn't want to eat animals since she was younger.
So it's like the emotional component.
And then the younger one, Kia, she's more whatever, but she eats at home what we eat, and when they go to parties, she'll have some pizza or whatever or something.
Yeah.
But the funniest thing was, we were in New York last year in Christmas time, and there was one of these Christmas markets. I think I'm not sure it was Union Square or somewhere. Yeah. Or was it the other one? Bryant Park.
Yeah.
And there's all these stores and food stores there, and we were walking through there, and suddenly she was about 4 then, I think. She suddenly looked and goes, I want that. And we looked at it, it was like Brockwurst, and we were like, okay, honey. let's go and have some bratwurst.
It's really going in the other direction.
I'm not going to say no, as I said, because my full principle is I'm not going to say no to them, right? So we queued up for like 45 minutes, I think it was, because it was so busy then, right? For like bratwurst.
Everybody's wanting bratwurst.
And we got to bratwurst, yeah. I was holding in my arm. She looks at me, no, I don't want it now. I want that. And next to it, because she smelled the raclette. So she wants, I want raclette. And well, she don't say raclette. She says, that's it. You want raclette? Okay, sure. So anyway, we went to the raclette, and we got a raclette in the end. And it was interesting because she took a few bites, ate about a tenth, and it was like,
not for
dropped
me.
it. Exactly.
But I think
so
that's a good idea because you've come to it from your own experience and education.
Yes.
So they're only getting this from you.
Exactly.
So to be able to come to it, I think that you sort of stay with it more if it's come from your own experience.
Yeah, and I think it's important to like accept that, we're not necessarily right in everything, right?
Exactly.
So it's important for them to also make their own decisions and eat whatever they want to eat. And when they're older, they'll have the awareness and consciousness to know whether they're being healthy for themselves or not, right?
Exactly.
So I think that's important. And what about more books? I see you've already written 2 there. So are there any more books in the works?
So
for
I don't know.
us?
I'm an actress. Like at first I started, that's how I began my career. So this was a veering off. And I loved writing the books. I loved working with my sisters and my mother. It was a lot of work. It's really, you sort of like, I'm an actress. I go on a set and a lot of things are taken care of.
Oh, right. And here you got to do
And all of a
everything.
sudden I was like, who's going to, we do that too. We do this too. So it was kind of exhausting. It was kind of like when I had twins. I needed to have. This was like my twins, which I loved having my twins. I loved when they were little, and then I needed a little rest before I had my last one. So
that's
I'm
interesting.
taking my rest after my twins.
But it makes sense because I hear you went to the one of our visiting guys, Layla, gave you a human design session.
Yes.
And you and your sisters are manifesting generators.
Yes.
So if anyone who knows about human design, manifesting generators are people who live many different lives in one lifetime and jump around doing many different things, which is perfectly correct for them.
Exactly.
So it's perfectly correct for you to write a book and maybe now go and do a gardening show.
Exactly.
Anything. What could be next?
That was really interesting because I did this with my sisters and we sat there going, wait, that is exactly you. And that's you and that's me. That
must
really
be interesting.
resonated
Three
with us.
sisters who are supposed to do many, many different things in one lifetime,
Exactly.
right?
So we were curious what our brother would be.
That's so interesting.
We have to figure that out.
There you go. That's going to be the thing to discover next.
If he is too, that's a lot.
That's super cool. It's interesting.
It's one family.
Imagine the poor guy amongst you, like as a kid, right? The kids, you 3 running everyone. He was probably maybe he's a projector like me, which is we just like to be alone and quiet and do our own thing.
Yeah, I mean that sort of checks out.
Could be. Yeah. So anyway, back to cooking. What would be your top tips for cooking plant-based food then? Because I remember when I also went plant-based, I remember it was a whole new world as well. I was like, I like the challenge, but how do I do it?
Exactly.
Like 15 years ago in Mexico, there were hardly any ingredients. I couldn't find anything, right? And what was more interesting for me was that I was like, how do I do this? Because suddenly all the ingredients were different.
Yeah.
I had to relearn to cook.
Exactly.
Right? So I had to, and all these weird things, as we said, nutritional yeast, who's ever heard of that, right?
Yeah.
And so what I did is my transition to more plant-based, and what I tell people is to start with like breakfast. It took me 1 year to change, by the way, my diet. So I started doing breakfast only. Smoothies, scrambled tofu, and things like that. And then I did lunches, and then I did dinners. And then what happens is that way you build like a repertoire of recipes.
Yes.
That gives you enough variety to be able to eat, because I don't know how to see you, but what happens with me with cooking is I plateau and I get bored.
Yeah, I do
I'm
too.
like, oh God, everything tastes the same. What can I do here? I need something different, So I'm like, and then this plateau can be very frustrating to get out of it, right? So do you find that you plateau as well? And you want to, like, jump into something
I
else,
like to incorporate different cultures and different cuisines in my cooking. And I think that helps to stay because the spices are different and the flavors are different. And for me personally, if I say, I have no idea what I want to cook today, I have no idea, I go to the farmer's market or to the farm stand,
look around.
And all of a sudden you're like, oh wait, those baby eggplants look amazing. I'm going to do that. Or the artichokes are in season. So that really motivates what I want to cook. I really go by what is appealing to me.
What's available, what's nice.
And what's available. And then I do a lot of research. I love reading cookbooks. And I love talking to chefs.
Wow. What's your favorite cookbook then? Which one would you?
Well, that's hard to choose between the two.
Go, right? Which one? Yeah.
You know what? I really like Ina Garten's cookbooks.
Oh, wow, okay.
She's amazing. There's a couple of Italian. Marcella Hazan is like a go-to for me. I mean, those are more towards the vegetarian. I don't cook as much vegan, but I can do so much Italian vegetarian, which I love. And trying to think what else. And then I do cook from our cookbooks.
And what about your go-to like dish, for example, like comfort, like the dish that feels best for you, like when you just want to cook something and you want to feel like, what's your dish?
What's my dish? It depends on the season. I live in New York, so it's very seasonal.
Yeah.
My go-to in the summer is going to be very different. In the summer, again, if I go to the farmer's market and the tomatoes look amazing, we have a recipe that incorporates tomatoes and basil and I do eat cheese and I'll get like a fresh mozzarella and then I'll do like a caprese pasta, which is in our cookbook. So but then in the winter and it's cold, I want to make our vegetarian chili with the nutritional yeast and lots of beans. And so it kind of depends on that. But those are two top ones.
Do you cut your basil or do you rip it?
I julienne it.
There's someone in Italy when I was there said to me, "No, you can't cut the basil. This is ridiculous."
I do the julienne. I love
you want to rip it and break it because when you rip it, it lets the aroma and the oils out as well, so it gives it more flavor.
I do sometimes if I'm topping with it, but I do love to roll it and then slice.
So my favorite, I think my favorite dish is I just love a bowl of perfect Japanese sushi rice with just homemade kimchi on top.
I love
just
that.
Simple, like it's just like the beautiful combination of the perfectly fluffy white rice, just this perfectly cooked with the sourness and that kimchi taste, right, which you can get from like making different types of kimchi with all these beautiful seasonal vegetables.
We had an amazing kimchi at the restaurant last night, and that's so healthy for you.
Absolutely,
the fermented foods are
so important,
healthy, so that makes sense.
Do you ferment food at home? Do you combine fermented foods in your meals as well? Or?
I use fermented foods, but I've never done it myself. But I love kimchi. I could throw kimchi on.
I think daily I probably have fermented foods, and mostly the ones I make at home as well.
Oh, that's nice.
I think learning to make kimchi is great. It's fun. I do the kids as well because you can.
It's like a science experiment.
Yeah, and also exactly, you just chuck it in the pot, see what happens. Sometimes you have to throw it away.
Yeah,
and then the opposite is like, wow, this is incredible, right? So you definitely. A good chef said to me, stop worrying so much. Just trust the process.
Yeah.
So I just left it because I always used to check on it, right?
Yes.
If you're checking it, you're letting the air in and more.
Right.
So he said, just trust the process. So I did learn to trust the process and just leave it for like a month by itself without looking.
Right.
And it certainly works out better for sure.
Exactly. So that's like making bread and you have your starter.
The mother, right? You got to look after them. Like they take care of the mother in Italy as well, right?
Yeah. It was like having another child when I had that starter.
There's
it's a little too much responsibility.
It is, isn't it? Because you've got to keep feeding it every day.
I
had one for like a month and then it died because I forgot to feed it.
And were you a little bit like, sorry to see you go?
No, because I left it here and I said to the person, look, I'm like, please make sure you had a bit of like flour when I go. I really want to, it mustn't die. I want it to go. And I got back and it was dead, obviously. And then in New York, or was it London? There's a bakery. It must be Paris, probably. I think I can't remember somewhere. Anyway, apparently they've been using the same mother for 234 years.
Yeah, you don't want to kill that one.
I mean, imagine. Isn't that crazy? And what if they go on strike and they don't deliver the flour?
I know, but those breads are amazing.
Oh yeah,
like the difference in it's just
the bubbles
crazy.
And how you digest it is completely different.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think thank you so much for coming on our channel. It's been beautiful to talk to you.
You too. And this has been very inspirational for me.
Thank you so much.
I've gotten so much out of this, and this
I'm
is
so
just
happy that you liked
beautiful
your
place
sisters
to be.
and everyone. And what was your favorite restaurant then?
Oh wow!
Hard to choose, eh?
Okay. Let me think this through. I think that I would say maybe I loved the one that we went to last night. That was
the Orient. Yeah.
But the Mediterranean was very, very special. What's the name of that?
Mar de Olivo.
Yes, that was really
because it's Italian
special.
with a different twist, right? Because all the processes are made with plant-based, so they taste different.
Exactly.
The sauces are different, so it's probably
But
different flavors that you're trying.
it's hard to choose though, because I really I loved every meal that I had. So I would say that we shared everything. We literally we sat down and we got to taste everything, which was really special.
Any favorite dishes?
I loved that. I don't know if it was called charred broccoli, but the broccoli, it was at two different restaurants and it was prepared two different ways, but I love broccoli. That's my go-to vegetable. That was amazing. I loved the pad thai.
The pad thai is good.
Really, really good. And the veggie burger at the
and different options
at the lunch was really special. That was a great veggie burger.
Glad you liked it. Yeah. I think my favorite dish is, as you can see, I like simple food. So in the cafe Plantisa, there's a poblano soup that this Mexican lady makes. I don't know what she does, but it's just incredible. So I just come in and hide sometimes when I'm super busy and just go in the corner. Just have a soup.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
It's so good. You have to try that.
I'll have to try that for sure.
Definitely. So well, thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it, and your sisters as well who came with you. And we'd love you to come back again, and hopefully next time we could talk about your next cookbook or your next gardening book. We don't know yet, do we?
Exactly. Pottery.
Exactly. Who knows? Anything, right? Fishing. Who cares? Could be anything. Yeah. Well, brilliant. Well, thank you so much again.
Thank you so much.
We will see you around.
Terrific.
For sure. Thank you.